Welcome to our video today. Here we will tell you the secrets and controversies surrounding the world's largest fast food chain, Subway. That's right, you probably thought the largest fast food chain is McDonald's, which is indeed one of the largest, undoubtedly making the highest revenue. However, Subway has the highest number of franchisees, currently owning 37,000 restaurants in 110 countries. But getting back to the subject, in today's video, we will tell the story of Subway, from its creation by a 17-year-old in a small shop, its expansion to thousands of locations worldwide, to its drastic decline today. The restaurant deceived people with the idea that its sandwiches were healthy and made with fresh ingredients. Subway has faced various corporate scandals involving lies and serious legal proceedings that have tarnished the brand's image. This is the story of Subway and all its controversies. To tell the Subway story, we need to go back in time, specifically to the year 1965. In that year, a 17-year-old named Fred DeLuca dreamed of studying medicine and becoming a great doctor. However, he faced an obstacle. Fred was the son of Italian-American immigrants, and his family was quite humble. His parents worked in a hardware store, earning only $1.25 per hour. Due to financial constraints, he had no idea how he could afford medical school. One day, Fred's life took a turn when he and his parents were invited to a barbecue at the home of a family friend named Peter Buck, a nuclear physicist. Upon arriving at Peter's house, they were impressed by its size and quickly realized he had a comfortable and financially stable life. Fred took the opportunity to ask Peter how he could earn money to pay for medical school. Fred hoped Peter could lend him the money, but the answer was not what he expected. Peter suggested he open a submarine sandwich restaurant, consisting of 2 long slices of bread filled with meat, cheese, tomatoes, lettuce, and condiments. This type of sandwich originated in Italian-American communities, and the name submarine comes from the Italian or baguette bread, which has a more elongated shape resembling a submarine. However, to open a sandwich shop, money was needed, which Fred and his family did not have. Moreover, he had never made a submarine sandwich. In other words, the idea of opening this restaurant was out of the question for Fred. Still, Peter explained that it would be relatively simple. They needed to open a small shop with a counter and acquire some items like cheese, salad, and a variety of different bread. Peter had been thinking about opening a submarine sandwich shop for a while, but he didn't have time to manage the business alone. Therefore, he suggested they become business partners. Fred would be responsible for the daily management of the store, and Peter would provide a $1,000 loan as initial support to open the restaurant. Fred had gone to the barbecue with no expectations and left with a business partnership in an area he had never thought of. Unfortunately, it was an area he was not familiar with and had no knowledge of, as his intention was to study medicine and not make sandwiches. Despite it not being what he wanted, and being just a teenager, he used the loan from Peter and his mother's help to open his first sandwich shop. Initially, the establishment was called Pete's Super Submarines. To promote the restaurant, Fred distributed flyers in various places, and on the first day he sold 312 sandwiches. All sandwiches were sold for less than $1. However, after the initial enthusiasm of the first few weeks, sales began to decline. Furthermore, Fred's lack of business experience was affecting the store's performance. By the end of the summer, the restaurant had only $6 in the cash register. This could have panicked Fred and Peter, since $6 in the cash register was a sign that the restaurant was failing. However, they took a completely different approach from what would be expected in such a situation. Even though the store was not performing well, Fred and Peter decided to open another restaurant to create an image of success. The idea was that by having a restaurant in various locations, people would think the store was doing very well and should offer quality products. After 3 years in 1968, they decided to change the restaurant's name to Subway, a shorter and simpler name, making it easier for people to remember. Additionally, as they had already started expanding the network, one of the strategies was to open stores near subway stations. Hence, one of the reasons for the name, and the sub in the new name still referred to submarine sandwiches. Both Peter and Fred were confident that this idea of expanding restaurants would work, and they set a goal to open 32 Subway restaurants in the next 10 years. They believed that the key to success was people always seeing the Subway name, the visibility of the restaurant, along with marketing strategies. Therefore, they decided that the next restaurants would be in highly visible locations, such as near subway stations. As a result, in the first year, they made a profit of $7,000. Although not a significant amount, it was much better than the $6 they had in the cash register, showing that the business indeed had potential. They continued reinvesting the money in opening more stores and in advertising and marketing. Over the years, the restaurant chain began to grow more and more, and it finally seemed to be providing a good financial return. In 1974, there were already 16 Subway branches spattered throughout the state of Connecticut in the United States. However, quantity does not mean quality, and with the expansion of the restaurant came some problems. Each store had a different appearance and operation from the others, making the customer experience completely different depending on the restaurant they visited. Fred and Peter were unable to manage all locations effectively, and they had set a goal to open 32 restaurants in 10 years. But with only 2 years left to meet the deadline, they had only achieved half. That's when Fred had a brilliant idea, a solution that would solve all the problems and increase their earnings. And it was this idea that transformed Subway into the world's largest fast food chain. After much thought and analysis, Fred contemplated the possibility of not needing to directly manage all future restaurants. Instead, he considered franchising the upcoming stores, allowing other entrepreneurs to have their own Subway restaurants, following the same format and menu that had been successful in the first 16 units. With this franchise model, Fred and Peter wouldn't need to operate the restaurants individually, avoiding concerns with customers, employees, and suppliers, as each franchisee would handle these responsibilities. Fred's brilliant idea made Peter's role in the company even more discreet. He became a silent partner, not even having his own office at Subway's headquarters. When questioned about brand-related matters, he would simply respond, "Talk to Fred." Nevertheless, Peter continued to receive his share of profits, yielding an incredible return on his initial investment of $1,000. In the same year, they decided to franchise Subway. In 1974, they managed to secure 15 franchisees, a good number for the first year of franchises and for a relatively new restaurant. After a few years, in 1981, they had already expanded nationally throughout the American territory. They opened 200 stores in the United States in that year, and the following year, another 100, totaling 300 stores. The growth of the restaurant chain was much faster than they could have imagined. If they hadn't started franchising, they probably wouldn't have opened even half of the stores. The franchise model was a strategy that worked very well, continuing to be successful to this day. What greatly aided the expansion of Subway franchises in the 1980s and 1990s was the fact that opening a Subway franchise was more accessible and cheaper compared to other fast food chains, such as McDonald's. Fred and Peter wanted all franchise units to be built quickly, with low operational costs, and often in unconventional locations, such as gas stations, hospitals, universities, and even military bases. The diversity of locations doesn't stop there. There is a Subway store in a fictional city in Virginia, built by the FBI for agent training. Besides expanding franchises anywhere possible, it's worth mentioning that, in addition to Peter and Fred receiving an initial fee for each new franchisee, they also obtained 8% of the royalties from each franchise, a share of the earnings generated by franchisees. Subway was indeed a success. Fred used to receive weekly checks of $7 million in royalties from all Subway units. However, despite this highly profitable franchise model for its founders, it was not always advantageous for franchisees managing Subway units, as many struggled to make a good profit despite all the hard work. Fred, being more involved in the business than Peter, took on the role of overseeing franchisees, and he did so meticulously. In fact, many people who had contact with Fred reported that he was invasive and controlling. There were rumors that he approached the wives of franchisees during Subway conventions, as he believed that the success of the husbands' wives was directly linked to him, leaving many uncomfortable and embarrassed. Besides these entirely inappropriate actions, many franchise owners accused the company of deceiving them or leading them into strict and inflexible contractual agreements. For example, in 1998, 40% of Subway franchisees claimed they were making a modest amount that barely covered living expenses. This happened because Fred was entirely focused on the quantity of restaurants. In other words, he just wanted to expand the network and open more stores without studying the locations. Consequently, several units were often opened in a small area, and Subway franchises became competitors, making it difficult for restaurants to profit. The controversies don't end there. Furthermore, Subway's sales team responsible for recruiting new franchisees also had a somewhat aggressive sales approach. A former Subway executive revealed that between 30% and 50% of franchisees were immigrants, and many struggled to comprehend the complex contracts they were signing. In fact, someone working in Subway's administrative department suggested implementing math and English tests to ensure franchisees fully understood the agreements they were signing. However, Subway's team rejected the proposal because the main focus of Subway's sales executives was to obtain an increasing number of franchisees without worrying about these people's understanding of the risks and costs they were taking on. An expert who worked for the company even stated that of all the franchise contracts he had read in his life, Subway's was by far the most problematic. He also said that some terms of the contract were considered illegal in some states in the American territory, as the contract granted Fred the power to confiscate any franchise and its assets if he wished. Additionally, it authorized the installation of franchises close to each other, encouraging competition between restaurants and prohibiting owners from speaking about the matter in the media. Given this scenario, many franchise owners were unable to take legal action due to the restrictive clauses in their contracts with Subway. Meanwhile, Fred and Peter's fortune continued to grow, and the company was expanding its operations internationally, opening its first restaurant outside the United States in 1984. Fred was obsessed with increasing the number of restaurants. He wanted to expand more and more. He set annual goals for store openings, initially considered overly ambitious by all employees, but they ended up being achieved. Instead of taking vacations, Fred constantly traveled to other countries in search of new locations to expand the fast food network. Despite some dissatisfied franchisees, Subway's global expansion plan continued at full steam. To consolidate its reputation and boost sales further, the company launched one of the most significant promotions in the history of fast food. However, this same promotion would eventually result in a scandal of gigantic proportions. During the 1990s and early 2000s, Subway developed a crucial marketing strategy that set it apart in the fast food landscape. The company promoted the false idea that its sandwiches were a healthy option since all its ingredients were fresh. The bread was baked on-site, and there was no frying involved. Furthermore, customers were offered the freedom to choose which available ingredients would be placed in their sandwiches. Due to this healthy fast food marketing, in 1997, Subway launched an advertising campaign highlighting 7 low-fat sandwiches, comparing them to calorie-rich products like burgers offered by competitors. One of their customers, Jared Fogle, claimed to have lost over 110 kilograms by eating 2 Subway sandwiches daily. This success story generated positive marketing for Subway, which hired him as its spokesperson. In 2000, Jared became the successful face and body of Subway, embodying the image of the Subway diet, propagating the misleading idea of a healthy restaurant. The ads were a huge success, resulting in a 20% increase in sales after the debut of the first commercial. The director of marketing at Subway even stated that Jared was responsible for half the growth of the restaurant network. His physical transformation thanks to the Subway diet turned him into a celebrity, starring in Subway ads for over 10 years, often showcasing the large pair of jeans he used to wear when he weighed 110 kilograms more. Jared became a familiar face in television commercials, boosting sandwich sales and even making appearances on TV shows, including meeting the famous American host Oprah. Apparently, Subway had great luck in choosing this man as the face of its brand. However, in 2015, the worst possible scenario involving the company's spokesperson occurred. Jared's residence was raided by the American Federal Police for search and seizure, and images and messages related to the exploitation of children were discovered. He was convicted of possession and distribution of child abuse material, as well as grooming and exploitation of minors, receiving a sentence of 15 years in prison. The company quickly severed all ties with Jared and denied any prior knowledge of the matter. Initially, many believed in Subway's lack of knowledge about the crimes committed by Jared. Associating the face of someone who committed heinous acts was a nightmare for the brand. However, a deeper investigation by the FBI revealed that Jared's ex-wife had sued Subway, claiming that the company was aware of Jared's interest in children and teenagers, but chose not to take legal action due to the significant profit generated by the ads he was in. Later, Subway admitted to receiving complaints about Jared's strange behavior, but claimed that they did not treat it with the necessary seriousness at the time. In 2017, the ex-wife's lawsuit against Subway was eventually dismissed by the American justice system. However, the controversies involving Subway were far from over. Fast food health-related claims also faced intense criticism, marking the beginning of legal proceedings and accusations against the company. Subway was accused of using a chemical found in yoga mats in the production of its bread. Additionally, allegations included using a substance that did not correspond to real tuna and selling chicken with a soy content higher than the meat. There were also claims that the advertised 30 centimeters bread actually measured only 11 centimeters. Subway contested all these allegations and resolved some of them outside the courts, although they agreed to gradually eliminate the chemical found in yoga mats from their ingredients. All these accusations damaged Subway's image as a healthy fast food chain. Furthermore, other allegations emerged that proved Subway was not as healthy as it claimed. It was discovered that the restaurant's bread contained 5 times more sugar than regular bread. This revelation came from investigations into product taxation by the government of Ireland, as healthier products were subject to lower taxes. It was then revealed that the bread was not as healthy and contained several additional ingredients that should be taxed as a dessert. From this point, Subway's facade of being a fresh and healthy fast food option began to crumble, seriously damaging its reputation as a healthy restaurant. In 2015, amid all these controversies, Fred passed away from leukemia. Throughout his life, Fred always had grand ambitions. The first employee of the restaurant stated that Fred always wanted his company to surpass McDonald's and would only be happy when that happened. In 2011, Subway finally achieved this goal. However, although Subway surpassed McDonald's in the total number of establishments, it still lagged in terms of revenue. In 2016, the network reached its peak with 44,000 locations worldwide. Unfortunately, Fred did not live to witness Subway's pinnacle. At the time of his death, his net worth had exceeded $3 billion. There was no doubt that he played a crucial role in transforming Subway from an initially struggling sandwich shop into the world's largest fast food empire. However, one of the issues was that he always insisted on maintaining absolute control over the business, leading to a lack of an effective succession plan. When he passed away, no one else had such a deep understanding of the business as Fred, and this resulted in a decline in the number of Subway units each year since his death in 2015. The other founder, Peter, was no longer at the forefront of the business and passed away in 2021, successfully turning the initial $1,000 into over $1 billion. 2 years after Fred's death in 2017, some Subway franchises chose to break the contract clause stating that franchisees could not speak to the press. They revealed to the Business Insider website that Subway's motto, "Eat Fresh," was far from reality. The restaurant's required ingredients arrived only once a week, resulting in wilted and often rotten products. If franchisees attempted to order from different suppliers or establish more frequent orders, they risked having their franchises withdrawn and licenses revoked. Franchisees also lived under the threat of increased royalty fees and the total loss of their restaurants if they made minimal errors in their stores. They also reported that about a third of their units were not profitable, and Subway's business model was criticized for being excessively expansive and quick, creating internal competition that made it difficult for each franchise to achieve solid profits. Subway's strategy of focusing on quantity rather than quality was one of the reasons for its decline. The rapid growth of the brand led to more competition between Subway stores than competition with other brands, causing sales to decline significantly since 2015, resulting in the closure of thousands of stores. Moreover, inflation forced the company to cut costs on quality ingredients and discontinue promotions. We can say that the past few years have not been good for Subway's reputation. Before and even after Fred's death, the fast food chain had to deal with scandals and growing issues within the business itself. Because of this, despite gradual attempts to restructure, Subway announced this year that the company is for sale, seeking buyers willing to pay around $10 billion for the business. Perhaps Fred's obsession with expansion was too much. Furthermore, Subway's reputation as a healthy fast food option no longer existed. In addition, lawsuits related to suspicious meat and questionable ingredients have further damaged its image. Inflation has caused its prices to rise significantly, and the association with Jared Fogle is challenging to completely overcome. Subway is indeed in decline. However, the company remains the world's largest fast food network and generates substantial profits. What remains is to see if Subway can turn things around or if it will indeed close its doors forever. If you've watched until here, you probably will enjoy our video on how McDonald's has been growing at the expense of its franchisees. Give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with a friend to support our work. Thanks for watching until the end, and tell me in the comments if you already knew this story and what you think of all this. A big hug, and until next time. Do you know which business model offers high profit margins, immense scalability, and requires low initial investment? The startup market specializing in software development is the optimal choice to bring together all these advantages. However, the only place where you will truly find a highly scalable service that demands low investment is with Roadmap. Roadmap has global experience providing consulting and developing apps for startups in the United States, Europe, and Latin America, making it by far the best option for new entrepreneurs. If you want to venture into the premier market, contact Roadmap right away through the website www.roadmap.co/home or via email at contact@roadmap.co.